This paper focuses on my own experience of bilateral osteoarthritis of the thumbs, which manifested 16 years ago when I was 63. But before outlining my own case study, I just want to share some information with you about healing with sound, vocal toning, and I want to explain my approach to managing pain in osteoarthritis. So let's begin with healing with sound. So here we have someone playing, an Aborigine playing the didgeridoo, and apparently they use the didgeridoo to heal broken bones, to mend tears in muscles, and also to connect the community to the spiritual realms. And current scientific evidence can now demonstrate that everything is in a state of motion, whether it's a stone, a planetary body, a starry cluster, or us, because we're made of sound. So it makes sense that we can heal ourselves with sound. Each organ, type of body tissue, atom and molecule vibrates at a different vibratory rate, and oscillations of the same frequency are said to be mutually coherent and in health are harmonic and harmonious. Ancient civilizations used instruments and their voices in a specific way to create healing vibrations, and vocal sound was used to restore the body's natural resonance. And the goal was to rebuild tissue by triggering the body's own self-healing mechanism. And using the voice as an instrument of healing is a radical approach to harmonizing the vibrational frequencies within the brain, the physical body, and the subtle energy system, which you may know as the electromagnetic field or the biofield. And it's also known, this life-giving energy, in other cultures as chi or prana. Ethnic groups in both the northern and southern hemispheres were aware that sound travels through water, air, bodily tissue, and organs, and they knew that it could be harnessed as a transformative creative force. And this is the principle by toning, because if we can harness this energy and focus it with positive intention, we can use it for self-healing, which brings me to talk about vocal toning. And this is an ancient and powerful method of healing with the voice. The toning process releases tension and anxiety through the use of specific sound syllables. The tone can be a vowel or a vowel and a consonant. And when we tone with focus and positive intention, it acts like a laser of light, and it can break up the molecular structure of matter. In ancient Persian medicine, a tone was used for a practical purpose. For example, the E tone was used to resonate up the nasal septum to stimulate the root of the pineal gland, which was revered in ancient practice because it was thought that when activated, it would enhance intuition, improve mental health, and it would bring clarity of thought. And I'm going to demonstrate the E tone for you, because you don't have to make a tone at a specific pitch, because we all have our fundamental note and we have our own frequency. So this is the E tone. E. And they also, in Persian medicine, they use the R tone to stimulate the heart. And this is the R tone. Ah. When we're sad or distressed, our frequency drops. But if we make a specific tone at our own fundamental pitch, it accelerates and raises our frequency to create harmony within, so we feel better. A specific frequency and resonance can influence subatomic particles, and we can harness this energy to regenerate and restore function and promote physical and psychological healing. And I want to now tell you how I was introduced to toning. Well, in 1999, I was a foster parent working with a busy caseload as a speech and language specialist and going through a divorce. So I was in a lot of difficulty. And I embarked on a healing program with a well-respected healer and teacher who'd founded spiritual communities in the north of England. And I eventually joined her guided healing and teaching organization. And in the year 2000, through an experience of channeled non-local communication, I was asked to teach a system of 8 chakra tones. Now, prior to this, I didn't know anything about toning. I'd never even heard of it. But I discovered that each chakra tone has a unique function and resonates within a specific chakra. And I'm going to show you a slide of the chakras for those who may not know the subtle energy system. A chakra is a Sanskrit word for wheel and is the name given to an energy hub within the body. There are 7 major chakras situated along the spine, which metabolize incoming energy and distribute it throughout the bodily system. Each chakra governs a specific anatomical area and in optimum health corresponds to a specific color on the rainbow spectrum. For example, the base or root chakra governs the kidneys and spine, and in health corresponds to the color red, and you can see it there on the diagram. The system of chakra tones creates a rainbow of color and sound to strengthen and balance the electromagnetic field. And there are 8 chakra tones, with 2 tones for the base chakra, because extra help is needed for this base, because it's the cellar of the body, where it represents our most basic instincts and where we build our foundation for growth. And it's here that we establish our identity. And I've taught this system of tones internationally, and this is my download manual. And I've used toning with my clients with tinnitus and those with communication impairment with very positive results, which I've documented in other clinical papers. But now I want to examine its application for osteoarthritis. In 2019, 528 million people worldwide were living with osteoarthritis, which is an increase of 113% since 1990. About 73% of people suffering from this condition are older than 55 years, and 60% of them are female. From a medical perspective, osteoarthritis is the most common degenerative musculoskeletal disorder, generally affecting one or more joints. And in simple terms, it's the chemical breakdown of cartilage between 2 bone ends, which causes the muscles to atrophy. And the misalignment is associated with a significant decline in function. The loss of articular cartilage is no longer thought to be the primary change in this debilitating condition, for there are cellular changes combined with other biomechanical stresses, including body position, resulting in faulty movement patterns because the body tries to compensate. Most chronic bone and joint problems of the foot, ankle, or the lower extremity originate from a biochemical abnormality at the point where the chemical energy is transformed into mechanical energy for movement. And where there is damage or dysfunction, the normal movement patterns of a joint are disrupted, causing altered forces and stresses on the surrounding structures, potentially leading to pain, instability, and further injury, because the collagen network is weakened, and when it's weakened, it becomes soft. According to statistics, osteoarthritis can't be reversed, but progression can be halted. The main symptom is pain, And this tends to be worse with movement at the end of the day. And it's also common to feel stiff after rest. And the pain is described as dull, achy, and throbbing. And over time, the pain tends to be more frequent and can be just a constant dull ache. Standard medical advice to halt progression is to avoid high impact activity and to stay a healthy weight. And you can reduce inflammation by eating anti-inflammatory foods. Current research shows that sound can affect the perception of pain. Music can act as a distraction for the brain to alleviate pain. And pain can be affected by our emotion, and a negative emotional state can amplify pain sensations, and positive emotions can lessen the experience of pain. I don't know whether you've realized this yourself. However, sound is able to alleviate acute pain by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps the body to relax by regulating internal balance and homeostasis. Low intensity sound reduces the activity of the neurons. And it's no surprise to know that when we make a sound, it helps us to tolerate pain, and there's an emotional release. For example, if we say ow or ouch when we're in pain, because expressing pain in this way dissolves some of the stress and helps us to tolerate it. This slide is an example of the considerable sonic advances in tissue engineering using high-frequency digital sound waves, because the high-frequency waves produce more pressure. And here they're using high-frequency waves on stem cells and turning them into bone cells. And the green areas here are where the stem cells are starting to produce collagen, and they become bone cells. However, the use of complicated and expensive equipment proved unviable and prevents widespread clinical application. And I think now I want to compare orthodox medicine with the holistic approach. And this diagram shows the organs of the physical body and a diagram of the human energy field or the electromagnetic field. Orthodox medicine focuses on the physical body and views the causes of disease as either genetic, aging, or external, whereas an holistic approach recognizes the multidimensional nature of consciousness and endeavors to integrate both the physical and the subtle energy system to restore wholeness. If we believe that we're multidimensional in nature, which I do, we can more readily accept the need to balance the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical elements to restore equilibrium. But where one or more of these is out of alignment, we experience dis-ease or illness. The electromagnetic field or biofield is now validated by evidential research. Energetic frequencies are stepped down from a higher primary source to connect with the denser frequency of matter, our physical body, therefore operating in both the physical and the non-physical worlds. Meridian channels, invisible to the naked eye, disseminate this energy throughout the body via the 7 major chakras, which I've mentioned earlier. The vibrational electronic frequencies of our thought patterns and feelings are distinct energetic vibrational fields, which are held within the electromagnetic field. So our thoughts and our emotional responses to those thoughts actually impact on our physical health. And science is now able to demonstrate how these electrical frequencies are emitted neurologically to the brain. In her book, Molecules of Emotion, and here it is, Candace Pert, who passed away in 2013, was an American neuroscientist and pharmacologist, and she explains how the brain translates these electroenergetic emissions into biochemistry, which are chemicals, which inform the physical symptom by instructing the cells which control our behavior and our genes. Negative response to experience, for example, the need to control or fear, anger, resentment, confusion, uncertainty, intercept the incoming energetic flow, which in turn affects our physiological processes and compromises our immune system. Because if we're in fear or anxiety, it causes us to recoil. And this process of tensioning and tightening constricts the blood vessels, and this restricts the oxygen supply to the tissues and organs, and thus compromises our immune system. So negative thoughts and strong emotions influenced by life events affect biochemical changes in the body and can change us physiologically. Our response to life experience forms our belief system, influencing our perception and our behavior. So unless we're able to discard our old way of thinking and our habitual emotional response to those thoughts, we will be caught in a loop of conditioned response and will continue to run on old tracks. We are required to change negative attitude and beliefs because how we think affects our body chemistry and our behavior. And we have to believe that it's possible to change, or we're not going to be able to summon the resources to do so. When we feel safe, we're able to access higher cortical function, but if we're fearful or angry or uncertain, the function of these systems is disturbed and we become defensive and protective, which compromises our physiology. So, here are my thumbs. I use my own physical symptoms of bilateral osteoarthritis of the thumbs and my thoughts and feelings at the time of onset to endeavor to explain this process. I practice toning on a daily basis to alleviate pain and possible degeneration. And here is my study. I was 63 and facing a house move from the rental property, which had been my home for 4 years. I was cleaning the oven with strong chemical cleaners and stupidly was not wearing gloves to protect my hands. With hindsight, I recognized that I was in my old habit of rushing to get the job done, cutting corners and taking risks by not protecting my hands. And this was my ego overriding my rational mind and triggering ingrained habits of control and thinking that I knew best. I was anxious about moving because I'd not found a satisfactory place to move to, and I was angry and resentful about the enforced relocation. So these were all negative emotions. Within a day of cleaning the oven, both my wrists ached and my hands were red and felt hot. I also noticed that my thumbs had changed shape and looked crooked. I was concerned and that night went to the acute accident and emergency department at the local hospital, and a doctor took my blood pressure, which was normal, but dismissed my symptoms and said that my thumbs looked fine and there was nothing to worry about. However, my crooked thumbs and hot red hands persisted, and 2 weeks later, I re-referred myself to the local doctor's surgery. I was told that it was an unusual presentation and it was strange that I was still pain-free. I was told that I did not present as someone with arthritis because there was no other distortion of ankles, spine, or shoulder. The sudden onset of symptoms and marked distortion of both thumbs was noted. The doctor was puzzled. I told her that I toned on a daily basis, and maybe this is why I had no pain, and I waited for her reaction. She told me to carry on with what I was doing and to document it, which I did. I was referred for an X-ray, and this confirmed arthritic abnormalities in both thumbs, which bent out at the thumb joint, and there was cartilage erosion. My diagnosis stated that I had an episode of inflammatory arthritis, which had led to destruction of the first metacarpal phalangeal joint and muscle wastage at the base of each thumb. In terms of joint function, articulation of the thumb pincer grip was normal, and I could achieve purchase when turning caps on bottles. And I was able to carry out everyday activities, and I was pain-free. I refused medication, and my personal therapy program was daily practice of the 8 chakra tones in the hope of stabilizing bone distortion and to prevent further deterioration. And every 3 months after meditating, I intuited a sequence of 3 specific tones and colors and added this new sequence of tones to my chakra tone practice. And I've kept this practice up ever since. I self-referred 3 years later for a follow-up, and this was a different doctor. My good health was confirmed, and my thumbs were still pain-free, even after the doctor's rigorous examination of bending them backwards and forwards and applying pressure. I was told that it was a unique case of bilateral thumb arthritis. So in conclusion, I sustained my toning practice. My thumbs are still crooked and there is muscle wastage at the base, but my thumbs remain pain-free. So I'm going back to, oh, this is me. I've stopped sharing. Just to say that ends my presentation and to thank you all for listening.